What a day we've had in the precious metals markets, with gold having quite a comeback today, and rhodium is exploding in price yet again. But what's going on with silver? We'll try to answer that question in this video as we explore. Quite a dramatic move for gold today. It's up over 2%, a surge in price indeed, up $69.60 with mere moments before the markets close. Now it's sitting at $3,360.10. Silver, though, is up. It is recovering somewhat, but not nearly as much as gold right now. It is up 0.87%, up 32 cents today, finally recapturing the $37 mark. It's at $37.08 right now. Platinum and palladium are also up notably, but rhodium has exploded above 4% today. A dramatic move in one day, up $275, now back above $7,000 an ounce again. It's pretty amazing, and I think the volatility in rhodium that we've seen, especially when it crashed the other day, down 11%, it's almost recaptured some of that with the moves that we've been seeing here with rhodium. But let's talk a little bit more about what's going on in the world of precious metals and what made this move today. Well, some surprising news came in with some downbeat U.S. economic data that came through. Kitco News is reporting, and the most important U.S. data point of the month saw the employment situation report for July from the Labor Department come in much weaker than expected. The key U.S. non-farm payroll numbers came in up 73,000 versus expectations for a rise of around 100,000 jobs. Yes, that's right. The unemployment rate rose slightly to 4.2% from 4.1% in the June report. Importantly, revisions to the May and June reports showed 258,000 fewer job gains. That makes the 73,000 gain for July look all the more weaker. Now, the Labor Department, and even for some of these other numbers, they revise. Usually it's down, and doesn't really make big news. Although this time it is. Now, the precious metals, I think, are going to go through a rocky time as we digest some of these numbers. But during the course, I think it's always good to dollar cost average whenever you get a chance. And when you're shopping around for precious metals, check out channel sponsor Summit Metals. Elevate your wealth with Summit Metals at summitmetals.com. Now, this is frustrating that these numbers come through. Now, some of this can be attributed to the loss of government jobs for downsizing and trying to make government more efficient. But that cannot account for the other losses. Most of these losses are in the private sector. I said there's no way to sugarcoat this, and that means that precious metals are reacting, gold especially, but that's not all of the reason why gold's price is climbing. By the way, in fact, it's climbing even more now, a little bit as we narrow down the end of this Friday. But we did not get a smackdown in silver's price, and that's good news, at least to some extent. I think there might have been an attempt, but we'll get into that in a moment. We'll see if that's the case. Now, the marketplace sees a 75% chance of a Fed rate cut at the September meeting. So that means more likely it's going to happen, and it's about time. Jerome Powell is kind of dogged in his fight to keep interest rates high, and we had an unprecedented situation where the Board of Governors said that we should be cutting rates and voted to cut rates by a quarter point. Trump wants to see a much more dramatic than a quarter point or even a half-point cut, and we may get a half-point cut based off of this news that we're getting about the economic numbers with jobs. Now, the job situation is very different than other economic data and forecasts, which have been good. But jobs is obviously the most important thing. A good economy is worthless to those who don't have jobs, right? That's for sure. And so this is a very strong indicator. Employment, and of course, inflation is also one of those things. This is not what some of these data that have come out right now. But anyways, Friday's report is very important, but more than the payroll number, I think we will be focused on the unemployment rate, according to Pira Mirza, portfolio manager over at JP Morgan. For the Fed to cut interest rates in September, there needs to be a clear evidence of the weakening in the labor market, said Misra in a Bloomberg story out before the jobs report was released. Such now appears to be the case. Now, Donald Trump has also unveiled a batch of new tariffs on dozens of countries just ahead of the August 1st U.S.-imposed deadline for new deals to be made. The baseline rates for many countries remains unchanged at 10% from the duties Trump imposed in April. Altogether, the average U.S. tariff rate will rise to 15.2% if rates are implemented as announced, according to Bloomberg Economics. That's up from 13.3% earlier. Most of the tariffs will take effect on August the 7th. Bloomberg Economics said Canada and Mexico are well placed to weather the storm thanks to carve-outs for goods compliant with the USMCA trade deal, which Trump helped bring about. That's his mastermind in his first term. Thursday's new tariffs don't apply to China. Trump will decide whether to extend the tariff truce with China after talks with the U.S. wrapped in Stockholm, Sweden earlier this week. Now, President Trump's sweeping new import tariffs are prompting keener risk aversion across world stock and financial markets on this first day of the month. Europe stocks 600 fell more than 1% to a one-month low. The MSCI All-World Index slid 0.3%, so it's having an effect there. And there's a lot that we still have to see how it's going to play out. There's still some unknowns with tariffs, and part of that is due to what I'm going to report to you now from Catherine Brock, a piece over here. Yahoo Finance says gold's early strength shows President Donald Trump's announcement of new tariffs ranging from 10 to 41% for countries around the world. The tariffs go into effect on August the 7th or October the 5th, depending on when the goods were loaded onto ships. So we have up until October to really digest how some of these data are and how some of these tariffs are going to have an effect and on the data and on the economy. And he announced on social media that he extended Mexico's trade negotiation deadline for 90 days. He also is raising tariffs on Canada as well, I think up to 35%, and because of what they had said they were going to do to undermine negotiations over in Gaza. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out, and what we're seeing here with the economy, especially with regards to what the dollar is doing. The dollar actually, if we look at the dollar strength here, it has taken a beating here today because of this. It is down over 1.3%, now to 98.72. So with a big surge that we've seen recently, a lot can change very, very quickly. And of course, the precious metals are reacting accordingly. So what is going on with silver? That's what we really want to know here. Why is it not reacting the same way as gold? Well, at the market open, silver's price surged dramatically up. In fact, it sprouted up to above $37.20 was the high that we saw earlier in the day in the bid price. And then it kind of got smacked right back down again with some of the very heaviest volume right at the open of the markets. And then as the day went on, volume has dropped precipitously, and a little bit of a whipsaw pattern with the price moving forward. No real big smackdown to speak of, but nonetheless, there was enough sort of one could say of sell-offs occurring with that spike in the early of the day that you could blame it. You could, as far as the bullion banks, because you think about it, some of the big bullion banks have well over 50-60% of the share of the ETFs and the electronic derivatives form of silver out there for those big bullion banks. It's a pretty big chunk of it. So what they do matters, and that's why a lot of people feel that they are what's behind price suppression, manipulation. We already know manipulation in general, which is a general term of price direction moving up or down, based off of selfish individual gains and from precious metals trading desk at some agencies. But nonetheless, there very well could be a coordinated effort as we see high-frequency trades, big smackdowns at suspicious timing and market moves. But nonetheless, there's where we stand. So silver really has not had the chance. In fact, it is the second worst performing metal of the day besides palladium. But of course, we don't blame palladium's lack of move to the upside on suppression either. But nonetheless, silver, I believe, sitting above $37 an ounce right now. We are witnessing something pretty dramatic here with silver's. The difference between the bid and the ask price, that spread, is something that we're also watching, because whenever it gets out of whack, well, it causes concern that something is array here, because there's an 18 cents worth of difference between the bid and ask price of silver. So that makes me think there's something going on here, and especially that could be tied related to futures contracts, the LBMA. There's a lot of unknowns there. The COMEX, with some of that normalization, the lease rates. What's going on with lease rates with silver right now? Other indicators, are they coming back down now? I don't know. But the fact that the spread has increased to 18 cents, up from 12 cents, tells me there's something going on here. In fact, that's just it. The fact that we're sitting above $37 in the ask price is good news, which means we've only lost $1 and some change here in the past couple of days. But in the end, you know what? I'm holding on with silver. I believe in silver, and I believe in for what it is and what it has been for thousands of years. There's more to silver than just its price. And so the more that we understand that, and we can muscle our way through these downward trends, when we measure it in dollars, well, what is the dollar? Yes, it is a very important currency. It's obviously the world's dominant currency, but it's a losing proposition, folks. And those of you who are frustrated about silver's price, remember what it's priced in. It's in these dollars. Yes, we need them. We need them for transaction. It's good to have them. Obviously, we need them to buy our silver. But when we have money outside of the system that's independent of any kind of system anywhere or any nation state, to me, that's extremely powerful. And that's why I hold silver as well as gold. And gold weathers the storms a little bit better than silver, obviously. But you know what? I'm going to take today's a little bit of rebound in the price as a win, as modest as it may be for silver. And we're going to go from there. So let me know what your thoughts are on the precious metals markets today. And rhodium, I tell you what, it's fascinating to see it move too. But let me know what your thoughts are. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.